We call it people technology.
That's it then. RCB have qualified. That's the third confirmed team now into the playoffs for IPL 2021. And it did seem, well, I wouldn't say inevitable, but certainly likely with the sort of bowling form Harshal Patel's been in Punjab. It's a similar story for them. They had a good start. Mayank and Rahul set a foundation which eventually materialized to nothing. We look back at that. Punjab now have a very slim chance. They're not out of it, but you think somebody will get to 14 points, and Punjab can't. The max they can reach is 12. So we'll see how things go over the next few days. But this is Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. There's an important game for Kolkata Knight Riders coming up. We'll go to that in a little while from now. But first, with Sanjay Manjrekar and Carlos Brathwaite, let's make sense of it all for the Punjab Kings. And if you were sitting in the Punjab Kings management dugout or box right now, Sanjay Manjrekar, what would you be feeling? I'm leaving it a very open question because it almost seems like, a predictable sort of feeling that you've had for Punjab, and this game has culminated that way too.
Yes, just for a moment, towards the end, I thought maybe Virat Kohli made a great decision to bat first, and the pitch was really tough, batting second. But seeing how close Punjab Kings got to that first inning score, it wasn't a game-changing, decision after winning the toss. But a couple of things I'd look at. Puran, Punjab Kings expect him to do what Maxwell is doing for RCB. That's not happening, and the string of failures is a bit like Riyan Parag. It's a long, line of failures with Puran. So that is a huge disappointment. They're hoping that he'll come good today, maybe tomorrow, day after. That is happening. And KL Rahul. Again, I'm sorry, we have to focus on KL Rahul because he's the captain and he's an India player. He's the big iconic player in this franchise. And today he got 39 or 35, strike rate of 111. Now, if I was in the team management, as I've said before, either you see the team through with that kind of an approach at 111 and then, build up the crescendo and bat like Virat Kohli in his prime when he chased down targets, or Dhoni in his prime. But you invariably see Rahul just falling short of that target, and then you end up having something like this, where he's got 39 of 35. Now, I've seen a Rahul, if he just lets himself go, he would get a 55 or a 60 of 35. And then 15, 20 runs plus. And in the end, they've lost the game by 7 runs. So Rahul has to, decide whether he's going to be this anchor player who sees his team through like a Virat Kohli or a Dhoni, or he becomes a KL Rahul that I loved when he used to bat at the top of order and strike at 150. Had he done that today with only 35 balls, same amount of time, get out at the same time, Punjab Kings would have been 15, 20 runs ahead.
Yeah, I've got a lot of follow-ups on this because there are a lot of conversations that trigger around Punjab and KL Rahul. But first, let me get Carlos Brathwaite's thoughts. Does this again seem like the kind of game which Punjab should have won but lost? 91 for one at the halfway mark, or 10.5 overs. They were 91 for the opening stand. Carlos, you think job done? The rest of the guys should be able to get 7.5, or that sort of RPO per over, but this doesn't happen for this team.
Yeah, I disagree slightly with Sanjay today. I think today the partnership with Mayank, he getting 9 over, as you said, 91 for one in 10.5. Um, you basically want 6, 7 over. Um, it was not a difficult, with all due respect to the RCB attack, it was not that difficult a chase after having that foundation. But it just felt as though they lost momentum. Puran coming in, we know he's not had the best time of it, albeit a very good player. And you can see him trying to bat balls and get in. And I just wonder if they could have been a bit more proactive and sent Aidan Markram, and have him continue the momentum out of the two. He's in a better form. We're in a situation where we can walk the game home, have Aidan Markram come in, continue the good momentum, and leave a lot less for the back end. I just feel as though when they lose a wicket, it's difficult for them then to build a partnership and gather momentum again. And we saw that today. As soon as they lost that first wicket, it was a steady decline and down the slope. So I can't agree with Rahul or Mayank doing much more. Obviously, you'd love them to score a lot more. And as Sanjay said, if he'd gone at 130, 135, then that would be 10 runs less that they need to score, and they probably win the game due to that. But in this situation, as it played out, 90 in the first, let's say 11 overs, 90 for one. I don't think that you can ask much more of the openers. I think the Millard need to put their hand up, score a decent clip, and bring the team over the line.
Sanjay?
Yeah, that is exactly the point. The kind of middle order that they have. Puran woefully out of form. Markram batting out of position. Huda has been dropped. Sarfaraz Khan is the new batter in, and you got Shah Rukh Khan in. So can you trust these guys to score quickly? They could perhaps manage a lesser required run rate. And my thing is, Rahul, if he plays freely and gets out after the 35 balls, he's still got enough runs on the board to make lives easier for the guys who are coming down the order, who are short of confidence, short of runs, and maybe sometimes on ability as well. The other thing is, this is a guy who can easily go at a clip of 150 strike rate without taking too many risks. And also the fact that when you see Mayank and KL Rahul batting, you'll see very often Rahul has hit a four at will, and the next ball, whatever it is, he's ticked off a single. And that is to ensure that he stays in this partnership and they get those 80, 90, 100 runs. Mayank Agarwal is always the aggressor, and somebody is anchoring the innings, right? So when you anchor the innings, finish it off. Win them the game. Don't depend on the Shah Rukh Khans or the Purans who are woefully out of form. So either make it easier while you're out there to make that job easier for them, or make sure you're there till the end, because at the moment he's right in between. He's not neither doing this nor that. And this is a familiar story, as you mentioned, with a good opening stand and Punjab losing the game.
I can't wrap my head around whether I sympathize for this team or not, because they make so many changes. They paid big money for Glenn Maxwell to try and do the job he's doing for Bangalore this season. They had a good Nicholas Puran, a red hot Nicholas Puran at this in the UAE in IPL 2020. He started woefully out of form in the India leg, came back into this team. They lost Chris Gale somewhere along the way. So I'm just trying to think, if you have to assume this is where it ends for Punjab. They've dropped key points. They'll probably not make it through with 12 points. Somebody you think will make 14 out of all the other contenders, Carlos. They're not out of it though. But if you were in that management, would you be saying, no, we just have to stick with this and hopefully we'll find the Puran of 2020 in 2022, or we look at these sort of players? Or are you again going to go to the top order and say, look, these are the kind of players that we knew were out of form, so you guys had to bat better and you all didn't? I'm trying to understand where's the feeling or the sentiment towards Punjab at the end of this.
I think with Raul, the only thing I would say is the dismissal. You don't want him after dropping anchor to get out the way that he did. He set up the game nicely. Again, for next season or seasons to come, you can't bank or you can't say for sure that Mayank and KL would give them the same type of starts in the same manner. But if you are going to retain both of them, then you're obviously looking to improve your middle order where depth is concerned. Um, you obviously want Indian middle order players that you can trust. Um, I know that the guys in this middle order are good enough to be in the IPL because they are. They would have done good work at domestic level, put up good numbers, and as a result, they have been trusted to be selected. However, you also need to ensure that you trust your players, whoever, whenever, wherever, to chuck them into the 11, give them a run of games. And I'm not sure if the management, or at least looking from the outside in, I'm not sure if the management is happy with the middle order, either the personnel or the roles, the way they come in the lineup from number three all the way down to number six or so. It kind of, you're putting players in a position and hoping. Um, and I know Andy Flower to be a man that gets the best out of players and is very strategic. He took St. Lucia Kings from not qualifying or qualifying once in the first 4 or 5 CPLs to 2 finals back to back. So I know that that's something that he'd be looking at as well. And I mean, I can sympathize with the franchise. You lost David Malan, who's probably the ideal person to come in after that partnership and just not only drop anchor again, but his left hand, right hand is a matter of consistency. Someone will get you runs. You're probably then looking at someone to complement those three and go at a better tempo. I mean, looking personnel wise, you'd look no further than Nicholas Pooran. He just has had a bad season, and that happens to loads of players, whether international or local, whether senior or junior. So I just think a lot of things have gone awry for the franchise, and it's not always the doing of the players or the selection.
Yeah.
You look at Chris Gale. Who would you have wanted to come in at number three today after that start? Chris Gale. And he's gone through bio-bubble fatigue. So the franchise has not had the best luck this season, but they've also not helped themselves turning some winning positions into losses. And when you
Yeah.
get a habit of losing, you can find ways to lose from winning positions.
Yep, absolutely. It almost takes me back to Sanjay Manjrekar's earlier observations, and they seem so pertinent now. What if you would have put Rahul in the middle order? It seemed like the ideal fix in a chase, especially. Let Markram and Mayank have a go at the top, but they didn't get there. It seemed too radical for them, or at least not something KL Rahul personally would have been comfortable with. And here they are now at just 10 points after 13 games. They can only get to 12. There could be permutations where they end at 12. But let's talk about RCB then, Sanjay, again, on the back of Glenn Maxwell, an excellent sort of personal innings. And the bowlers did do the job. Whatever said and done, Harshal Patel continues to be an effective death bowler. Yuzvendra Chahal's form seems to have just come back to its finest after he was excluded from the India squad.
And you can see in the mannerisms that that's hurt him. The dropping has really hurt him, and you'll see a better version of Chahal because he's going to make a comeback very shortly. I mean, that is on the cards, and he's bowling beautifully. That ball to Sarfaraz Khan was absolutely brilliant, and the stuff before that as well. Consistent right through, even in difficult conditions, bowling the tough overs. Doesn't bowl too much in the first six, but he's been fantastic. Batting, again, like KL Rahul, you have Virat Kohli going at 104, but you've got somebody like a Maxwell coming in and playing the way he's done. So, RCB, the story has been about Maxwell finding form after the UAE leg. And again, it's the form that is found in UAE for a different franchise. But that's RCB story. Their bowling is looking good. You mentioned Harshal Patel. He's bowling well. Siraj bowled a superb 19th over today. So there are some good signs around bowling. And S. Bharadin batted number three, should have today. Padikkal will always be around. Virat, big stage, and the run chase will be useful. But Maxwell is the one who's made the difference. If you're talking about one person who can change the
Yeah.
fortunes of a team, it's Maxwell and RCB.
Yeah, you think though this is now that they've qualified officially for the playoffs, they started this UAE like poorly, Carlos. But looking at the other teams in the competition, you think these are without doubt a deserving team. This is a deserving team to have made the top four. And those little holes that we thought, are there? Those there are two slots or maybe three slots that they're not sure of. But that also seems to be falling together. George Garton has had a good game today. Shabazz Ahmed's had an impact in the last couple of games. Bharat has got some runs. You think this team's coming together at the right time? Or it's Virat Kohli? You never know. He may still change it up.
I still think he'll change it up. Obviously, you have Kyle Jamieson, your big money signing. I think when they get to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, pitches that offer a little bit more, um, whichever playoff games they play, you may see a Kyle Jamieson come back. Um, but what I love about the franchise is the bravery. Um, Glenn Maxwell batting before AB de Villiers, that's a brave call, and that's been vindicated. You look at the game today from the toss. It did made no sense to me, to be honest, when we did the pre-match and we saw that they batted first. But that was a brave call. We're gonna back ourselves to get a big score, and you know what? It also plays positively to the psyche as well. First. They now know that they can bat first, get a good total, and defend it. Then you talk about Dan Christian coming at three to try to keep that momentum going. Another brave call. It didn't work today, but it's the mindset, it's the intent, the bravery that got them over the line. The way in which Maxwell played, he could easily come in and try to soak up some balls and get a score, but he was positive. And eventually got them to a score that was a winning total. So I love the bravery of the team. Obviously, Kohli's an aggressive captain, but in the past, you felt as though some decisions and some tactics were a bit on the defensive, maybe trying to be safe. I think they are being a lot more calculated and a lot braver this season. And yes, this season they didn't. This second half they didn't start well, but we also have to remember that points were taken over from the first half. So if you had a good first half, you always had a little bit of a leeway to start slowly in this second half. And I think that they found a method as a team, and I'd love to see them go far for the decisions that they've been making and the way that the players have been vindicating the management.
All right, the RCB story goes on. If you're an RCB fan, you want Virat Kohli to sign off with his captaincy career for the franchise on a high, then this is the first job. Get to the playoffs. They've done that. They've got a game against Delhi Capitals and then one more, I think, against Sunrisers. So these are two games you think that RCB should try and nick as many points out of. If they beat the Delhi Capitals, there's also the chance that they could finish in the top two. That could be massive. So something for you RCB fans to enjoy. Speaking of the Sunrisers, their game's already gone underway. KKR will be very happy with that result. Points table will reflect that they're in pole position now. I think if they win both their games, it's in their hands. They should then end up in a playoff spot. So that's what it is for KKR. And they made some very interesting team changes, Sanjay.
Mm.
Shakib Al Hasan has finally got a game for the franchise. So Tim Seifert's stay was a short one. And as I look at other possible changes, there's only one, I think, for the Knight Riders. Other than that, Sunrisers have made some changes too. They've got Umran Malik in, so they'll have two Jammu and Kashmir players playing together. Brought in as a replacement very recently for Natarajan, and also somebody who has been a net bowler for the franchise in this leg of the IPL. Don't Doesn't look like there are any other changes there, but you look at KKR, you do see that one change in the middle. Shakib Al Hasan's a big one, Sanjay. They've decided they need some more batting in that vulnerable middle order.
I think more than batting, some left arm spin of Shakib. I think he'll bowl his four overs. The pitches have been conducive to his kind of bowling. Look at that Sunrisers Hyderabad batting lineup. Barring Abhishek Sharma, in the top seven or eight or nine.
Yeah.
All others are right-handers, so that's a clear, indication that you needed a left-arm spinner, and pitches have been useful. The batting also will come in handy. Umran Malik is a right-arm, I think medium fast, hasn't played much cricket, so we'll see how he goes. But Khalil Ahmed, continues to be sort of left out by Sunrisers. They played Siddharth Kaul on occasions, but I don't know whether it's injury, but a bit unfair, I thought, with Khalid. But let's hope, Imran Malik does the job. Let's see how this one goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think after the way the results have gone before this Kolkata game, Carlos, that they'd be pretty pleased? Mumbai have dropped points. Rajasthan perhaps are a bit of a threat, but you've got a fixture between KKR and Rajasthan coming up that could very well be a decisive one. The last game for both teams in the group stage. You think KKR are the team to? So if you look at that points table, likely make that fourth spot now, even if it is without Andre Russell and Lockie Ferguson.
Yeah, the injuries are the only thing that will be playing um, a part in my mind as to if they can or can't. Obviously, the form of Owen Morgan, but when you think of Shakib Al Hasan coming in, he may be able to go up the order and allow Owen Morgan to drop down and almost play like a finisher's role and take some of the pressure off him, trying to get a big score. So that may actually help them. Um, and it's funny because everyone says, we're just going to concentrate on ourselves and we're going to control what we can control. But you can be rest assured that there have been some guys watching the games, afternoon games, if they don't have practice, or night games back in the hotel. Everyone knows who they want to win, to give their team the best chance of qualifying. So everything would have gone exactly how they wanted. They'd be happy about that. But now it's time for them to, as the cliche goes, control what they can control, win two games, and leave the rest to fate.
Yep. Well, it looks like it's not started well for the Sunrisers, who also have decided to bat first after winning the toss. Interesting. Both captains today decided to bat first, but they've already lost to Diman Saha. Let's pick up this chat at halftime then. Sanjay Manjrekar, thank you very much. We will see you very soon again on ESPN Riggin for T20 Timeout. And Carlos Brathwaite, you're going nowhere. Like I said, the day is still young for you. So let's see how many Kolkata manage to restrict Sunrisers to join us then at halftime on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Riggin for T20 Timeout.
Thank you.
We call it people technology.